Welcome back to the channel. Today the road takes us to Death Valley. We are at Death Valley Ranch, better known as Scotty's Castle. We're going to be doing an exterior tour. There is a hantavirus outbreak inside, so it is closed. The tour is only open a couple of times a year in the winter. I'll put the link in the description to where to get tickets. It is sold out for the rest of the year. Let's go ahead and watch this and see what you're missing. And then sign up next year when they come on. Let's go check out Scotty's Castle. If it's your first time, please subscribe, please like, please comment, all that fun stuff. And we will talk in the end. She will tell you when the castle will reopen, so watch for that. Let's go check out Death Valley Ranch, Scotty's Castle. Since Scotty's Castle is closed, we met the rangers down the road at the Grapevine Ranger Station. There was a lot of information about the castle and the flood that closed the castle in 2015. After our group arrived, we caravanned up to the castle together.
If you've never been here before, as you can see, Scotty's Castle is not just a singular castle. It's a whole complex of buildings. So I'll give you a little mini orientation. We got, of course, the castle. It's actually two buildings connected by a bridge. You got the main house on the left, annex building on the right. Behind the castle, you have the powerhouse and chimes tower. Next to it, there's a pit in the ground that we refer to as a swimming pool. I'll tell you the backstory behind that. There is a little cookhouse building to the right of the castle where employees of Death Valley Ranch cooked and ate meals. Behind the palm trees here we have a hacienda, little guest house. Then here in front of me we have the foundations of what used to be the historic garage. The historic garage we converted into a visitor center, and then connected to the historic garage is the long shed building. So this makes up Scotty's Castle Historic District. Who here is visiting Death Valley for the very first time? Okay, we got one person. Hey, are you from a before we would build our dream castles and what special things we'd add to it, I want you to share with me. Where'd you build it?
Maui.
What was it?
Maui.
Someone said Maui in the morning tour, and I agree wholeheartedly. Maui sounds like a great place to build a castle. Yeah. What would you make it? What would make it special? What kind of spot when he would camp with Death Valley Scotty and his wife Bessie? Grapevine Canyon, great location. There is a spring nearby, so a good source of water. Very lush area, higher elevation, so slightly cooler than down in the valley floor. And he dreamt big for this place. He really wanted it to be something special. So he wanted a big old swimming pool with Bellagio-style fountains on either end. He also designed a little ship-themed diving board to accompany the deep end. He wanted these grotto structures with big Romanesque torches, a little space for his wife to do her sermons. Bessie loved preaching. Yeah, he had envisioned all these things for the castle. Now think back to your own castles. What would force you to stop building it?
No money?
I have no money. No money. So yeah, Albert, he first started building this place in 1922, had a whole crew, lots of construction workers, engineers, designers, architects, tile workers, woodworkers, iron workers. But he stopped construction in 1931. Reason number one, money issues. What happens in the 30s?
Depression.
Yeah, the Great Depression. So he, amongst many Americans, are losing money. He simply can't afford to keep building on his castle. There is another reason. What else would force you to stop besides money? What if you just couldn't do it anymore? Maybe you got sick. Maybe you got hurt. Albert, when he was young, he had survived a very traumatic train accident that left him with lifelong pains and maladies. The older he got, the worse this pain got. He's also working a whole lot. He had all these insurance companies in Chicago. He decides to sell them off, go into retirement. He and Bessie also spent a lot of time traveling back and forth between Chicago and Death Valley. Travel took a toll on his body. So he sells his home in Chicago too, moves out to Hollywood. Travel between Hollywood and Death Valley, a whole lot less than Chicago. Alright. So, we are here at the powerhouse. I'm going to get the gates unlocked. The space inside is quite small, so I'm just going to hang out here by the steps, let you go in a few at a time, check out the inside. Oh, I did forget to mention one other ground rule for our tour, and that is museum rules apply. What is the golden rule of museums?
Don't touch.
Don't touch. So, touch with your eyes, not with your hands. There is one thing that you can touch, and it's inside the powerhouse. It is the Pelton water wheel that you see in there. So get out of your system.
Can't wait.
What's in there?
Huh? No, there's not. It's on the house. You
That
can
makes
see the curtains moving. The
no
AC must be on in there.
sense.
Huh?
That makes no sense. If they were there, they're here.
Up there is a solar water heater. You would run water through that, and the windows would heat the water. That's how they got hot water at the range.
That I'd like to talk about. So before we get into Scotty and his origins, I want to show you this thing right here. We are standing on what we call Scotty's porch. because his bedroom is just beyond the door here. Now, Scotty, he's this master storyteller, right? This really good entertainer. Always know how to tell a good story. Problem with his stories, you couldn't tell if they were true or complete lies. So, if you were a guest of the castle here in the 30s, you bought a room, you were spending the night, Scotty would have been entertaining you with all sorts of stories. He also would have been telling you that the gold mine is underneath the castle. The entrance to the gold mine, underneath his bed. So on top of being a big fat liar, he's also got a big mouth. He's telling everyone, gold mines under the castle, entrances underneath my bed. Which probably invites a risk of theft, right? People are like, oh, now I know. I gotta break in, gotta get that gold, especially bandits. But Scotty, because of this risk of theft, installs this high-tech security system. Take a nice, good, close look at it. I also invite you to look behind it. There is a hole behind it. What could that be? How could it dispel thieves?
Gun?
Yeah. So Scotty called this his shot splitter.
The shots.
Shot splitter. And this is how the shot splitter worked. So if bandits came up to the castle, one was probably peering into the window trying to find the entrance to the mine. Another bandit here trying to break in through the door. Scotty would be on the other side of the wall with a shotgun. He'd put the barrel in through the hole, pull the trigger. The shot would hit this metal thing. Shot would then be split, hit the bandit at the window, hit the bandit at the door, and we drop dead. Sound good, right?
No.
Not really.
No, why not?
Ricochet.
Yeah, if you actually shot this, it might ricochet at you. That's no good.
No.
What else might happen if you actually shot this? What if it sent it blowing off the wall? Just completely right off. Rip it off the wall. Or you just might blow a hole right through it, so probably not very effective as a shot splitter.
Was this his invention or was it something they had back then?
That's a great question. Yes and yes. So, he used this as a prop to keep that gold mine myth alive. But it does have one very simple, elegant use. Of course, we're in the hottest desert in the world. The Johnsons, they mostly visited during the winter time. They occasionally came in the summer, and if they did come in the summer, there were ways to keep cool here. They had a very primitive swamp cooling system. Down in the basement of the house, they would soak burlap sacks, hang them up, blow large fans on them, creating this moist, cool air that would circulate through vents. But that would build up a lot of pressure inside. You have to release that pressure. Ventilation hole.
Wow.
But Scotty turned this very simple ventilation hole into this really fun shot splitter story, because that's the guy he is. Again, loved spinning a good yarn. So he's this entertainer. Parts of his origins are true. Born in Cynthiana, Kentucky, Walter Scott, 1872. He does run away from home with his brothers at a very young age. They come out to Death Valley. And he finds work with the Harmony Borax Works. So he works with them, first as a water boy, but then later has additional roles. He later becomes a mail carrier for different mining camps all around Death Valley. So early on, he gets this very intimate knowledge of the landscape. Picks up a couple of odd jobs later, then eventually moves to Wyoming, where he is a ranch hand on this ranch. Now, while he's working as a ranch hand in Wyoming, he is recruited by Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show. Anyone heard of the Wild West Show?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a traveling show with all these actors, entertainers, stunt horse riders, sharpshooters. They put on a real good show. Scotty joins the traveling troupe, and he spends 12 years as an entertainer with the Wild West Show, traveling all over the country, big cities, in other countries as well. Now, as time goes on, popularity of the Wild West Show starts to dwindle. People aren't really buying tickets for the show anymore. It's going downhill. Scotty himself is losing interest in performing for the show. He skips out on rehearsals. He also skips out on whole shows entirely. He just no-shows a bunch. Buffalo Bill Cody, not Scotty's greatest fan. They find themselves in New York City where they have a couple of shows scheduled. They also are supposed to appear in this parade through New York City. While they are there, Scotty meets and falls in love with a candy shop girl called Ella Josephine. He marries Ella Josephine, gives her his own little nickname of Jack. So, Jack and Scotty. Scotty skipped 2 weeks of rehearsals for the parade, and morning of the parade, he is nowhere to be found. Buffalo Bill Cody's a little panicked, but he says, you know what? The show will continue without Scotty. Parade goes on. Buffalo Bill Cody is in this parade. He's going through the streets of New York City, and in the audience, he spots Scotty, a little drunk, whooping and hollering, clapping his hands. And Buffalo Bill Cody had it. He said, you know what? You are fired. You are gone. You are out. So that's it. His career with the Wild West show over. But he has this new wife, Jack, to support. So he and Jack move to Colorado, where he finds a job at a mine. While Scotty is off at work, Jack, his wife, in her free time, tours local gold mines. And during one of her tours, she found this really cool quartz rock that had a really beautiful vein of gold running through it. She talks to the miner. She's like, hey, this is really cool. I want to take it home. Can I keep it? And they said, yeah, sure. Go ahead. It's yours. So she has her little souvenir piece of gold. Takes it home. Scotty comes home from work, finds his wife's souvenir gold, and the con is on. He takes the souvenir gold, goes to New York City, attracts the attention of an investor, tells him, yeah, here, look at my gold. This is from my gold mine in Death Valley. Give me a couple $1,000, invest in me, I will make you rich. The guy believes him, gives him a grub stake of $15,000. Today, that is valued at over $300,000. That's a lot of money, right? He is flush with cash. He is rich now. Does he go home to support his wife in Colorado? No. He goes to Hollywood and starts flashing that cash. We'll talk about what he's up to in LA at our next stop. Any questions?
So the pool was never finished because in 1931 they started to make this into a national park, and it was discovered that the house was built on the wrong property. So he spent 6 years trying to fight to get the land back. He got the land back, but then had no money, so the pool was never finished.
You would think somebody from Chicago and the same area of Franklin Wright would want, he would not
He was
hire
consulted.
him. Wasn't he?
He was.
It was like, I've been, yeah.
This is not very mission style. in my
It's
opinion.
not. You are
Yeah.
correct. We're at the main entrance to the castle. We're not going inside though. But above the front doors, you'll see 3 words. What do you see?
Death
Death
Valley.
That is the true name of this place. It was never Scotty's Castle. It was always Death Valley Ranch. So yeah, Death Valley Ranch. True name of this place. Back to the story. Scotty ditches his poor wife Jack in Colorado, and he goes to Hollywood to spend his cash. This is where Walter Scott becomes the famous Death Valley Scotty. He signs hotel ledgers as Death Valley Scotty. He is tipping bellhops $100. He goes to parties, buys everyone bottles of champagne. He meets celebrities and parties with them, buys them drinks. Journalists are at these parties, and they're writing about him. Oh, he's buying oceans of champagne. Why are you so rich, sir? Oh, I've got a gold mine in Death Valley. I am a successful gold miner. Look at me in my cash. So Scotty overnight becomes very famous for flashing his cash and being Death Valley's greatest gold miner. This is how Albert finds out about him. Reads about him in the newspapers. And he thought, this Death Valley gold mine seems like a really good investment. So contacts Scotty's people. Through their mutual business partners, they finally meet up in 1906. They're having dinner. Scotty is going on and on about his Death Valley adventures. Oh, bandits tried to steal my gold, but I got the best of them, and blah, 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 and Death Valley this, Death Valley that. Albert is eating up his stories. He's like, wow, this guy is really cool. Death Valley sounds awesome. His gold mine sounds like the real deal. Albert says, and I quote, I trust this man with my life. So, Albert invests in Scotty. Months go by, they have parted ways. Albert's still thinking about all those stories that Scotty had regaled him with. He thought, man, Death Valley is really interesting. That gold mine sounds really cool. I want to go see this gold mine. I want to visit Death Valley. So he asks Scotty, sends him a telegram, hey, could you take me out there? I really want to see the place. Scotty replies back, it's the summertime. This is the hottest place in the world. You're gonna burn up and die. No, I don't recommend a trip out here right now. Please send more funds. Months go by. Albert tries again. Hey, I really want to come see Death Valley. I want to see your gold mine. He's like, it's cooler, right? It's the winter time. Scotty says, yeah, it's cooler, but this is the Wild West. There's tons of bandits. You come out here, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get robbed, you're gonna get killed. I don't recommend coming out here. Please send more funds. Months go by. Albert tries and tries again. Scotty comes up with all sorts of excuses, always asking for money in the end. Finally, Albert just breaks him down. He says, come on, I really want to see Death Valley. Please take me on a trip. And Scotty says, okay, fine. I have a couple of potential investors. They also want to see the mine. My brother's in town. Why don't we all meet in Barstow? And this is the plan Scotty lays out for him. He knows about Albert's bad back. He knows about Albert's body aches and pains and his health issues. He says, all right, let's meet in Barstow. Let's hop on a couple of mules. And we're going to ride mules all the way from Barstow to Death Valley. This is going to be the most painful trip ever. Scotty's like, surely Albert's not going to sign up for this. But Albert hears this plan. He says, yeah, sounds like fun. Sign me in. Like, sign me up. I'm in. Plan is set. They meet in Barstow. They hop on their mules. It's Scotty, Albert, Scotty's brother Warner Scott, and a couple of other potential investors. They ride their mules to Death Valley. They get here at the southern end. They are entering a place called Wingate Pass. And as they are coming through Wingate Pass, they hear shots fired. Bullets are starting to whiz by them. There's bandits in the hills up ahead shooting at them, trying to find the location of Scotty's mysterious gold mine. So put yourself in Albert's shoes. You're a guy from the big city of Chicago, never been out west. You are on a mule. You're getting shot at. You're panicking a little, right? You're kind of thinking, man, Scotty was right. It's the Wild West out here. Oh my gosh, there's bandits. I'm getting shot at. Not to worry, though, because Scotty is the hero of the day. He rides up in front of the group, pulls out his pistol, starts shooting right back at the bandits. So a whole gunfight breaks out. Scotty versus the bandits. Bullets flying everywhere, whizzing by every which way. A stray bullet hits Warner Scott, Scotty's brother, in his thigh. He goes down. Ooh, now Albert's really panicking. He's like, oh my gosh, someone in the group got shot. We're really in trouble now. But Scotty, again, he's got this, don't worry. He jumps off his mule, he runs towards the bandits. He's waving his arms. He holstered his gun. And he's yelling, stop the shooting! Oh, you fools! Stop the shooting! You shot Warner! Stop the shooting! The bandits, they stop shooting. They rush to Warner's side. They're apologizing. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We shot you. Let's get you bandaged up. They bandage Warner up. Albert had a med kit with him, luckily. They put him back on his mule and they leave, trying to find the nearest doctor. Those bandits were awfully friendly, no? So, local sheriff of the area finds out about what happened, arrests everybody. He wants to get down to why there's a shooting in his county. Interrogates everybody, Everyone's confused, panicking, no one's telling the same story. The sheriff's getting confused himself. He says, I'm getting nowhere. All right, you're all free. Everyone is released. Journalists heard about what happened and they sensationalized the story. So the next morning, papers read big bold font, "Battle at Wingate Pass, Death Valley Scotty, hero," because he saved this group from those dangerous bandits in the hills. Something did not sit right with the sheriff, so he keeps investigating. He catches Scotty bribing witnesses. He's like, that's very suspicious, I'm gonna arrest you. Arrests Scotty, interrogates him again. Scotty confesses, I hired the bandits. The gunfight was a ruse. That was all me. And Scotty is charged now by the sheriff. Journalists hear about his confession and they do a 180 on him. Instead of calling him a hero, next day newspapers are calling him a desert freak. He's the biggest con there is. And his investors read this. They are not too happy because they now start to piece the puzzle together. There is no gold mine. Scotty has been lying the whole time. Everyone starts suing Scotty. All of his investors, including his brother, the one that got shot, sues him. They're suing the pants off of him, except Albert Johnson. Albert pays Scotty's legal fees, defends him in court, and after the whole court case is done and settled with, he pays him, continues to pay him after. Why would he do that? He likes chaos. I like that answer. I never heard that answer. Yeah, he likes chaos. Think back to those letters between him and Bessie. He was bored with his life in Chicago, right? He was looking for some excitement. So he's on a mule here in Death Valley and bullets are whizzing by his head and he's thinking, oh man, this is so much fun. I am having a great time. He's living a cowboy adventure. So yeah, he had tons of fun. And he even though Scotty thought that the mule ride would be really painful, being here in this hot, dry desert relieved his pain. So not only is he happier here, he's healthier here. And he thought Scotty was a really fun guy to hang out with. He's like, I don't care that he lied to me. He just gave me my greatest adventure ever. So he's paying him not as a gold miner, but as a tour guide to take him on Death Valley adventures. So during the construction phase, they planted a lot of ornamentals, like all the oleander you see, the palm trees. The apple trees are native to Death Valley, but they planted them here. Yeah, just to make it better. In the Park Service, there's a term that we use called the period of significance.
How much do they spend in the entire project before they start?
How much money did they spend? I actually don't know, but it's really. Oh, this is gaudy. You know, it's in our partners. I think it was National Life Insurance. Yeah, something like that. National Life.
What's the meaning of
Oh, good question. A lot of the structures are concrete with stucco on them. The house is not so much concrete, it's more like wood plus other material, but it's mostly concrete with stucco on the outside and then painted to look old and weathered.
Oh yeah, it does.
Is that a real family crest, or did they just make it up?
No, so a lot of the symbolism around the castle are influences of Spain. A lot of references to Spain, but also a lot of references to Death Valley wildlife and plant life. You'll see depictions of the desert holly. You'll see depictions of pomegranates, which is the national flower of Spain. You'll see a lot of symbolism from townships in Italy and Spain. So a lot of references to Europe in a lot of the stuff that you see, or references to Death Valley. All right, going on into the courtyard.
Yeah, one time.
That's right.
Hey, it's the end.
Right? Ring and run. All right, welcome to the courtyard. So, like I said at the beginning of the tour, the castle is not just one singular building, it's actually two. So on the left here, we've got the main house. Main house comprised of a great big living room with a great big chandelier, kitchen, dining room, Scotty's bedroom. Upstairs, the Johnson suite where Albert and Bessie stayed whenever they visited. And then across the way, a similar guest suite known as the Spanish room. Then the right side, your right, my left, we've got the annex building. Bottom floor has the commissary, which was food storage and a larger refrigeration unit. Patio alcove, then Albert's study, and then an apartment that we call Bessie's apartment. Bessie herself did not stay there, but Scotty did. I don't know why we call it Bessie's apartment. The engineer at the time, Matt Roy Thompson, he called it Bessie's apartment. Second floor, we've got the upper music room where the great big Welty Theater pipe organ lives, and then some smaller guest rooms and suites. So yeah, you could rent any room here. I would say prices were comparable to the inn, $200, $300.
At the time?
Today.
Oh.
Today, yeah. Up to 400, especially for the hacienda. But yeah. So the castle, like I said, thankfully did not suffer any mud or debris damage, but it did suffer a lot of water intrusion, a lot of leakage from old roofs, from cracked windows, but specifically from the pedestrian bridge. So if you follow me, go look at, closer look at the bridge. The bridge was never properly water sealed. Anytime it rained, it would become waterlogged. It would allow a little bit of water to leak inside, but not too much, not enough to cause significant damage. But of course, 2015 was not any normal rainstorm. Because of the amount of rain that fell, the bridge was just so soaked and waterlogged, it allowed tons of water to leak inside. As you can see here in the alcove, water staining the walls, lots of water damage to the historic structure. Prior to the flood, our job was to, go inside the house, check mice traps, do pest management, make sure that they are not going to damage the collection, and also take steps to prevent them from entering the castle. But after the flood, we were so preoccupied with damage assessing and cleaning up, we weren't really going inside the castle to check mouse traps. Mice were moving in, building nests and furniture, started chewing up stuff. And with the loss of our HVAC system, that meant there was no longer any heating or cooling inside the castle. The collection was not only at risk to the moisture from the flood, to the rodents, but also just Death Valley weather and the elements here, the extreme heat, the extreme cold. So we had to make the very difficult decision to remove the museum collection, to protect it, to make sure that it would last into the future. We removed, just from the main house alone, over 100,000 objects. So it is an extensive collection, yes. Priceless stuff. Like I said, all original to the time period. So it's really sad that it's not here, but we are all grateful that it's being protected elsewhere. So what have we done since the flood? We fixed the road, which is great. It's all nicely paved. Still closed because there's a lot of construction going on, lots of equipment coming in and out. We armored the road as well when we repaved it. We put some K-rails, these big concrete structures, down on the sides of the road. If a flood comes through, it won't get washed away. When Hurricane Hillary hit us in August 2023, and then the atmospheric river event that we had in February, we didn't have road loss up here at Scotty's Castle, so that's great. But we did lose some pavement. You probably noticed it on the edges as we were driving in. So we're gonna take further steps to reinforce the road, make sure it does not get wiped out again. You probably noticed that there's traffic delays all around the park. We're armoring all other Death Valley roads with cages filled with rocks. We plan to do that here at Scotty's Castle as well, in addition to the K-rails. So we fixed the road, we armored the road. We restored the electricity to the castle, so there's electricity again. We fixed the HVAC system, so there's heating and cooling. Great. We were in the process of renovating the historic garage, redoing the visitor center inside, trying to preserve its historic integrity. But you noticed that it's gone, right? We stood at its foundations at our first stop. Why is it gone? There was a fire. We lost the historic garage April 22nd, 2021, when there was a fire. Contractors showed up to work one morning and it was already halfway burnt to the ground. We don't know what caused the fire. We did do an investigation. It turned up inconclusive. So we simply don't know. But that was a major setback. Not just the fire, but we had a pandemic, right? We all were affected by the pandemic, including Scotty's Castle. Work had to be paused. Work had to be renegotiated. The pandemic, the fire, the last two 1 in 1,000 year rain events made fixing other areas of the park top priority. And also the simple fact that we are the hottest place on earth, work is paused in the summer. So, pandemic, fire, 2 floods, it's hot, and now funding issues. All of these problems have only compounded each other and has forced us to, take a look and see where can we get the money to finish this great, big, complicated project. This is not me making an ask, but we're trying. It's just very difficult because again, all these issues have only made the whole situation worse, which is why the opening date keeps getting pushed back. So we've done a lot so far. There's still a lot that we need to do. So this year we are going to be working on repaving the parking lot, repaving most of the walking path around the grounds. Another top priority of the park is to improve the accessibility of the grounds, because again, we've got a lot of uneven grounds. So paving them, making sure that they're smooth and even. We're also working on finishing the water line restoration, so maybe next year we can have flush toilets for these stores. But that is a work in progress. Most importantly, we found a way to protect Scotty's Castle from future floods. So I talked about it in the beginning. How are we going to protect it from future floods? Because they're just going to keep happening, and this is right in the floodplain. Well, in 2023, we finished a project that built these 4-foot tall flood diversion berms. We placed those on the east side of the property, which is where most of the flood waters came in 2015. We also built flood diversion walls on the north side of the castle. That project was completed spring of 2023. So when Hurricane Hillary rolled around in August, they worked. The flood diversion berms and walls worked. So that is good news. That is a step in the right direction to protect this place from future floods. A lot of the money that we are using to help fund all of these projects mostly comes from government sources, especially federal roads and highways. They're the ones who are helping us a lot with the road restoration and armoring, the paving of the grounds and the parking lot. Lots of other fund sources like, I believe, the Great American Outdoors Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, but also the money that we collect in the park, the fees, the entrance fees, the camping fees. That money that we collect, a lot of it is going to Scotty's Castle. You, being here on this tour, you are helping us get closer to reopening. So the Death Valley Natural History Association, they are a nonprofit partner of the park. They help run the bookstore. They put on several ticketed events throughout the year. The money they collect goes right back to Death Valley. These tours, the money that they collect are going to special projects that'll help us get open again. So inside the castle, besides all the beautiful furniture, there's a lot of gorgeous textiles, a lot of really pretty leather curtains, a lot of woven, colorful curtains that are original. But they've been on display for decades. They are falling apart. When we reopen, they will no longer be on display. They will be in storage forever. But the Death Valley Natural History Association has spent money to make replicas that will hang in their place. Another really important project that the Death Valley Natural History Association helped fund was the restoration of the Welty Theater pipe organ. Before the flood, we would do a house tour. We would dress up like it was 1939, take you through all the rooms of the house, and we would end the house tour with a song from the organ. So it really helped make this place come alive. But when the flood hit, all of that water and increased humidity inside the castle rusted the pipes, broke the organ. Luckily, because of these tours and because of the Death Valley Natural History Association, they helped pay for professionals to fix it, to restore it. So it is in working condition again. When we reopen, hopefully late 2026, we will make that organ play. So I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here, because you're getting us one step closer. Thank you. As I said, right now projected opening date is late 2026. That is if all goes well. Fingers crossed, no more 1 in 1,000 year rain events or random fires. Any questions about the large undertaking? Yes, a lot of the towel is original. All of it is. Oh yeah.
Are they going to rebuild the visitor center?
Yes, good question. So the park has decided that, yes, we will rebuild it as it was. It is a very important structure that is a part of what we call the cultural historic landscape of Scotty's Castle. And we need a visitor center. Yeah. But that is going to be years and years before it is built and open. Scotty's Castle will reopen before that is finished. So we're going to put in a temporary visitor center in that brown little shack where I showed you the 2 pictures of Albert and Scotty. That brown shack is not historic. It is not a contributing structure to this landscape. We actually had plans of tearing it down. But when the garage burnt down, we decided, fine, we'll keep it a little longer. We'll just put in a temporary visitor center.
And the other house further up, that's just a guest house?
Oh no, the little house up behind the gas tank house is the cookhouse. So that is where employees of Death Valley Ranch cooked and ate meals. They also held sermons there. They were just as religious as the Johnsons. That burnt down in the 80s, and we fully restored it, or fully rebuilt it. So we've been through fires before.
Scotty didn't come back here after 39, even though he didn't die till 50.
Oh, he did. So that's a great question. We're going to get there. No, that's okay. So before we leave the courtyard, I have one last thing to show you. It's my favorite piece in this whole place. And that is this sundial up on the annex. So come over here and get a better look at it. If you do, just please be careful of the cholla. Don't back into it. Or the prickly pear here. Avoid big spiny plants.
As a whole.
As a whole, yeah, in general. Good likes it. Yeah, we got the sundial. My favorite thing in the whole castle. What do you see on the sundial? Yeah, there's a god. The two-faced god Janus, or Janus. I call him Janus. Janus. So, Janus is a Roman god. He is very closely associated with time. He is on this sundial. Janus represents a couple of things. He represents young versus old, the past versus the future. He represents changes over time, transitions. I think he's the perfect symbol for Scotty's Castle, right? Because this castle has gone through so many changes, through so many transitions throughout its history. And the fact that he's two-faced, I think, is a perfect symbol for Scotty, right? And the Johnsons. Oh, yeah. There we go, another one, lie versus truth. So yeah, Janus, perfect symbol for Scotty and the Johnsons. Again, the Johnsons pretended to be something different in the public eye versus who they truly were. But Janus also represents beginnings versus endings. So we've heard how the story began. We're going to talk about how it ends. They continue to operate the castle for the public, offering tours, offering meals, renting rooms, up until 1943. Scotty's still coming, entertaining guests, telling his stories. In 1943, the Johnsons had spent some time in Chicago visiting Albert's family. they came back to California, spent some time decompressing here at the castle after those travels, before deciding they were going to continue on home to Hollywood. Now at the time, again, roads in Death Valley were not paved yet. They were all gravel. While they were here in 1943 visiting, the roads in Death Valley were just recently graded and oiled. So after a few days of rest and recovery here at the castle, they decide to go back home. They're driving through Death Valley. They start going up and over the Panamint Mountains, over Town Pass, a very steep mountain pass. As they're going through Town Pass, Albert loses control of the vehicle. He is swerving all around the road. He hits an embankment on the side. Bessie is launched from the car and dies on impact.
Oh my God.
She dies April 22nd, 1943. After her death, Albert is distraught. He just lost the love of his life, his wife, and he cannot bear to come to the castle anymore. Everywhere he looks, he sees Bessie. He sees her work, her influence. So he tries to get rid of the castle. At first, he tries to sell it to the Park Service. That deal did not work. It fell through. So he holds on to it a little longer, but instead puts it in the hands of the Gospel Foundation. The Gospel Foundation is a nonprofit organization he created, comprised of their religious friends that he and Bessie made throughout their lifetime. They donated to charities. But yeah, he told them to come here, run the house tours, cook the meals, rent the rooms, and look after Scotty. So in his will, he leaves them a bit of money, and he also leaves Scotty a bit of money. He wants to make sure that his best friend's going to be well taken care of. Albert passes away in 1948 because of cancer. Once he passes, the Gospel Foundation, they are now the true heirs to the castle, the true owners. They have inherited the castle from Albert. They still do their thing, running the tours, cooking meals, renting rooms, looking after Scotty. Scotty is still the big draw to the castle. He's the reason why people are still coming to visit. They want to hear his stories. And he obliges, but these days he's a bit more lonely, a bit more depressed. He just lost Albert and Bessie, so he lost his two dear friends. As he gets older, he can no longer ride his beloved mules to go camping out in Death Valley. He can no longer go to his rustic little cabin away from tourists here at the castle. He's starting to slow down. The leader of the Gospel Foundation, Mary Litticoat, tells him to stay permanently here in his actual bedroom at the castle. 1954, he is in rough shape. He is on his deathbed. He pulls Mary Litticoat to his side and he tells her that his final wish is to die here in his castle. Mary wants to respect that final wish, but he is looking really bad. She wants a doctor to come here and assess him. So she does. She invites a doctor from Las Vegas who assesses Scotty and decides the best thing we can do for him is to send him to a hospital. At first, Mary pushes back, but she says, you know what, you are right. He needs help. They load him up in the doctor's vehicle. They start driving him through Death Valley. And before they can even make it out, Scotty draws his last breath. Even though he didn't die here in his castle, he still died in the desert that he loved so much. So he is buried here. You can still visit him. Well, not now. We're closed. But when we reopen, you take a walk up to his grave. Scotty is quoted in saying he's got 4 things he lives by. 4 best advice he can give you. Number 1, don't give advice to people. They won't listen to you and they won't take it anyway. 2, don't say anything that'll hurt anybody. Don't be rude. 3, don't explain. 4, don't complain. So those are the 4 things Scotty lived by. Since 1954, the Gospel Foundation, they were still running the castle, but they start running into some financial straits. They're running into some bad luck. The castle, it's not being kept up as it should. It's starting to fall into disrepair. Business not doing so well. House tours are starting to go down. And in 1970, the Gospel Foundation goes bankrupt. They can no longer maintain ownership of the castle. They have the castle appraised. Just the main house alone is $850,000. The National Park Service buys the castle for $850,000. Everything else, the furniture, the decorations, all the other buildings, donated by the Gospel Foundation. So since 1970, the Park Service has been here at the castle offering house tours, telling Scotty's stories, no longer renting rooms, but treating it as a museum for you to experience. Of course, that is on pause right now. The flood definitely did a doozy on this place. But it is the National Park Service mission to not just protect this place, but to make it available to you for your enjoyment, for your education, for your inspiration. And not just for you, but for future generations as well. So we're working our hardest to try to get this open. We're running into some speed bumps and some challenges, but we are dedicated to trying to get this place open. So please bear with us, and thank you for your patience. Again, fingers crossed. Late 2026. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here.
All right, thanks for watching Scotty's Castle. So hopefully the end of 2026 it'll be reopened. And right up here, this cross on the hill, that's Scotty resting place. So Scotty is still here at Scotty's Castle. So thanks for watching. Again, please subscribe, please like, please comment, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time when we see where the road takes us. Thanks for watching.